deceive, pretend, hanky-panky, jiggery-pokery, contrivance, cheating, swindle, fool, fake, flim-flam, chicanery, hanky-panky, hoodwinked, perfidious, double-dealing, hornswoggled, etc., etc. I think you get the idea. I think you get the idea. Uh, it's been a while. I thought I'd put my head out, stick my head out again. Hello, YouTube friends. I want to talk about just briefly about getting sidetracked, which is very easy. I find myself getting sidetracked quite frequently, especially when I'm focusing on something. I'm making tours, I'm making paintings, and I try to stay focused on that sensibility that seems to arise out of, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. I don't know where it comes from, but I get sidetracked. I thought about getting sidetracked. And I think this is something that is actually much more serious from the point of view. I mean, the chicaneries and fooleries go on all the time. It's kind of like part of the entertainment. I actually think it's quite entertaining to see how far people will go to try and fool one another to get advantage. Obviously, I think there's always at the underneath there's this feeling that by you get away with one, right? And it's like it's easily for us to fool ourselves as well, to get sidetracked. And what I was thinking today is I have certain and this is primarily for entertainment purposes. I go to certain channels because there is a certain kind of reinforcement I feel by the things people do that are actually quite valuable, but they're still misguided. I find myself, I need to look for people I like. This is kind of weird, but I look for people I have an inclination to listen to, but I find the things that are wrong, not because they're wrong, but because I see it in myself. I think this is what happens. So I've mentioned this before. I listen to a fellow occasionally, the photographer Ken, for example. Some people have expressed a real like for him. I like this chubby guy. He comes up with stuff. He's really smart. He talked about an issue today. What was it? He was talking about an important metaphysical. He likes to talk about metaphysics, and that the only pursuit, he talked about people who want power, and if you want power, you're probably not worthy of leading anyone. If you desire that, it's something that you're just forced into. If you want to be a politician, you're fundamentally flawed, because there's no person will want power over anyone. Like, if you get right down, it makes a lot of sense. It's true. It's really true. It makes a lot of sense. And he reiterates the idea that knowledge, wisdom, truth, that moving target, is the ultimate gain. And he mentioned briefly, he came to a point when he said he has no interest in people that care, and immediately he jumped to religious guys who proselytize. And I said, that has nothing to do with caring, obviously. And he said he much prefers wisdom. He much prefers knowledge, that quest, our human quest. We are striving to accomplish something of such magnificence, to understand the mystery through the ancient texts. And he translates stuff, and it's noble, it's fabulous. People have incredible minds. They're really intelligent. But again, I have to say, we get sidetracked by these entertainers. He's very entertaining. And there's many of them on YouTube that I actually like, but I listen to them to see what it is in them that I see in myself that's not working, how I get sidetracked. And I have to say, I said to Ken, give me a kind, decent, generous, honest person, and I would willingly forfeit all the wisdom and knowledge in the cosmos for that person. It just makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not interested in wisdom, your knowledge, all that brilliance. I want to see that kindness, that generosity. And I'm not saying he isn't. And I'm not picking on him. There are much more worthy candidates than him, even like this Cliff High guy who wears a Carhartt hat too, who talks about the coronavirus and has all his insights and brilliance, and he's able to, or he enjoys predicting. He enjoys, and he's one of the candidates that I've always seen this in myself. It's systemic feedback. You look for the things you want to see. You don't actually look, there's no such thing as objectivity. We're looking for the things that we want to see. It's in science, they actually have a name for it. They call it systemic feedback. So when people say they can project the future or they can predict the future, it's something that they actually somewhere want to see. I find this quite hilarious. Again, very entertaining. Cliff High, very entertaining. So I just thought that it's easily, we get sidetracked by very reasonable suggestions, like people who are into the idea of being able to capture truth about something. Truth, yeah, of course, truth. Yeah, we want the truth. But I prefer honesty to truth, because if you're honest, you're going to fix whatever mistake that you make. If you have the truth, you're going to be dogmatic. This is something that I find quite, what is that? It like happens a lot. People that feel they have the truth become rather dogmatic. They don't have an open mind. They become myopic, one-sided. They begin to feel very motivated or entitled almost, in the sense of over someone else. It's like if you have the truth, for whatever reason, all of a sudden you feel like you have dominion over some kind of swath of existence. I don't know what that is. And then the next thing you know is that truth is eclipsed by another truth, or if you know what I mean. So what I'm saying today, sticking out my neck out of my studio, that I get sidetracked, and there are very few people that inspire me, that talk from the heart, express themselves not through some kind of esoteric external world, but from an inner world. And it's not something that's easily, I suppose, it's not easily distinguished, because people make very valid, good points. But if they don't reach deep down, they're just entertainers. They're just entertainers. And you can fool yourself into translating obscure languages from the past that was written probably by some very devious individuals who pretend to know the meaning of the mystery, and have an ability to confuse us incredibly well. And then you have minds like Ken who decipher that confusion, that deception. What did I say? Deception, pretense, hanky-panky, jiggery-pokery, contrivance, all those things that sidetrack us. And all that's necessary is to meet and exchange with a kind, generous, caring individual, whether that is on a digital media like this, or preferably in the real world, and model ourselves after the highest aspect of our humanity. I come back to this. This feeling in me is not how brilliant, intelligent, how I can decipher, analyze statistically, organically, mathematically, whicheverly you want to subject yourself to. There is a fundamental rootness of our magnificence, which has to do with very straightforward, simple relationships. And I have to say that I don't think of myself as a Luddite. I mean, I make paintings. You see in the background, I transpose my life into a higher form of thought. And even if you think like a lot of people have in the past come, and friends of mine too, who make fabulous work, are always subjected to the idea a person comes who hasn't got a clue who always says, well, my kid could do that. And my response always is, you have a very low opinion of your child. You're not making a comment on my work. You're saying something about yourself and how you see your children. So what I'm saying is that what I am not discarding higher thought. Higher thought is a consequence of that more basic quality in us, that caring quality that seems to get sidetracked by a lot of different things and the entertainment that's out there. And I'm not picking on just Ken, because he seems to be a decent person, but he's completely lost in his own translation of the cosmos and the meaning of things. And so another person that I brought up occasionally, who I really like, is this quantum of conscience fellow who has effectively deciphered contemporary news events and shown the absurdity of them. It's like the 9/11 stuff, the moon landing stuff, all these things that are presented to us in consensual history and consensual culture. All this aspect, all these things work because we're sidetracked and hoodwinked, hornswoggled, double dealt. The flim flam people out there have taken over. So how do I, not you, how do I avoid this? Is by following that inner voice that I have. I make my paintings. I relate to people based on that which I know to be certain in feeling good about myself. This is my relationship. This is something that, I make my comments now with the epic struggles we have, right? It's like my logo for Fukushima is actually Fukushiva. Now I'm become death, destroyer of worlds, the famous Oppenheimer quote of the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu. Anyway, you can research it yourself. These are epic struggles we have in the real world that will not be solved unless individually we actually come to that fundamental, rudimentary aspect of ourself, of our existence. And it's got nothing to do with wisdom and knowledge and intellect and all that stuff. That is a byproduct, not a source of our redemption.